Morning, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a rainy day today. We're going to talk a little bit about training with firearms. This devastatingly handsome young man sitting next to me is our second oldest grandchildren of four of them. He's the oldest boy, and we've got two younger boys. His sister's a little older than he is. So what we've been talking about is training specifically. We have a BB gun here and I'll get you in here closer here in just a minute. We've got two firearms for the purposes of comparison. I'm not going to get into a lot of spec detail other than what I just think is important or might be something interesting for you to know about these things. We've really enjoyed this. I got this in November. We have done some shooting with it, not a ton. We were out doing a lot of plinking on Super Bowl Sunday, which was a week ago today. And we were practicing grip and actually hitting targets, aluminum cans specifically. We haven't done too much with paper targets. We like the cans, you know, they move and so forth. So Dylan's been working on his grip and with the BB gun specifically, I think a 9mm for his age, which he's 8 years old, is a little much for him. We can talk about that. I know that Glock just came out with a new 22 caliber gun that is functionally equivalent to a Model 19, which I have over here. And that's my everyday carry. So we're going to talk about the BB gun specifically. Okay, so the Amazon man arrived today, and I ordered from Pyramid Aire. I have no affiliation with them. I pay full retail just like anybody else would. What I did was order 2 additional magazines at $10 a piece. And we have a part number here for the gun, and I just cannot get over the quality of this whole rig here. It's just beautifully made. These are metallic. They may look like plastic, but they're not. And of course, weight always sort of implies quality, at least in some respects. And I think that these, you know, they have a little bit of weight. They have a little heft to them, right? And it's really interesting to just kind of handle them. It's just, everything is just so cool. And you can see here where it's been, they've been licensed. Umarex has been licensed to from Glock in order to produce these parts and pieces. And in the front of this magazine, they have established the caliber of BB that this gun shoots. So I've got that. Of course, a magazine is never actually useful until you've actually used it and run it a number of times. And I'm expecting good things here. I've used this one, and it's really amazing. The way you load it is that you take this little thumb pressure point here, and it's spring loaded, and you draw this down, slide it into this little notch, and hold that just like that, and then you would load your BBs in here. It's a 16-shot capacity magazine. As I zoom in here again, you see they sent me a catalog, right? And I was paging through that, and I was so inspired by it. I actually have a very powerful spring piston air rifle, RWS scoped. It's a badass gun, and I also have a beam and pistol. It's also spring piston, and I'm really getting inspired here to try and get these things out again and start using them. I'm just really digging on the whole operation here. It's just amazing, and the actual pistol itself, which is CO2, of course, is that heft, right? That heft in your hand and the feel in your hand is just amazing. I'm just so impressed with this whole thing. Okay, one of the things that we do quite often is we've been practicing with Dylan, loading a magazine, and then practicing grip, right? The weight of this gun is similar to the firearm, but it's a little bit lighter because we don't have as much ammo in it, or we don't have the weight of the ammunition in it. So for example, let's get Dylan to grasp this gun and load a magazine, and then we'll do a sort of a grip drill, right? Let's try that. All right. So. Good thumbs forward grip going here. If we look up, you can see that the fingers are wrapped around with his left hand onto his right. Let's flip this over. We call this the USA is #1 finger position. What we're trying to do is make sure that we get in a good habit of never putting the index finger on the trigger until we're ready to fire, right? This gun also has a manual safety on it, which a real Glock firearm does not have. And it's located right here. I'll try and get a shot of that here a little bit later. But okay, son, go ahead and line that up and like if you were going to shoot it, right? So we've been practicing a lot on paying attention to the front sight and then placing that over the target and then aligning with the rear. He's doing really, really well with it. It's not an easy thing to do. I will say that the grip is too big for his hand. So in order for him to rotate his trigger finger, right, around here, look where his trigger finger falls. It's not quite on the trigger itself. So what he has to do is he has to rotate this finger over and grab a hold. But he also needs to come down and sort of get it on the end in order to release, right? So you got to do some right hand manipulation if your fingers just is not big enough, right? So that's how that works. So go ahead and try and pull it. It's on safe and there's no ammunition, right? So he can get it. So he just pulled the trigger all the way back. All right, and then stand it back up again and take a sight picture. Right, okay. All right, so let's take a look at how this thing actually, the CO2 is actually installed. So if I remove the magazine, and we still don't have any ammunition on that, it is somewhat difficult to verify whether or not this thing has a BB in it, right? I will say that. I don't really care for that. It's very easy on a firearm, right? We've got no magazine here, it's gone, right? And if we look in the barrel, we have no round. So it's very easy on a firearm to check these types of things. A little more difficult here because we don't have a slide that comes back, at least not on this model. You can get them that are considered blowback models where the slide actually functions. And it's really cool. They're a lot more expensive too, or at least somewhat more expensive. All right, so we've got the magazine out, and the way that you would insert a new CO2 cartridge in it is that this back plate on the grip comes out. So if I just lift up, and I don't know, I think that's actually magnetized if I'm not mistaken. It snaps in there, but it doesn't seem like it's held by much, but it stays pretty good, right? So there's that. And the CO2 cartridge is sitting inside there. Now, one thing I noticed is that this thing can sit for a number of weeks. If I use maybe half of the CO2 in this cartridge, and it won't leak out. That's really, really great. I love that part. And there is CO2 within this cartridge right now, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let that bleed off and waste because I just want to demonstrate how the CO2 actually goes in. So on the grip panel that comes off the back, there's this Allen key that pops out, right? I can do this left-handed so I can hopefully make this a little bit more visible. It slides into this nut in the bottom, so if I back this off, we're going to lose the gas. I can hear it. Yeah, maybe there wasn't as much gas in there as I was expecting. All right, so a few turns, right, and then it pops out. So this is a spent cartridge. So if I grab another one, if I insert this guy in here like that, all right, and then just do the opposite. Just give it a tighten. It'll pierce up here inside the gun, and then this thing is charged. Yeah, a little snugging, and you're good to go. All right, reinstall. Yeah. All right, so CO2 is in. It's ready for a magazine full of BBs. All right, so let's talk about holsters here quick. As I recall, I think this is considered a Generation 3 model, and I have a Generation 5 firearm, okay? The differences are very, very slight. However, that being said, if I demonstrate the firearm in my everyday carry, this is my appendix holster, and if I slip this in, this is a perfect fit. Especially notice the trigger guard, right? It's perfect. There is nothing revealed on this holster, right? Perfectly done. No, so it's completely safe to carry in condition 0. I do it all the time, every single day, right? All right, so if I remove the firearm, and if I insert the Gen 3 as compared to the Gen 5, it starts to get a little tight there, right? And if I give it a little more of a shove, you see we got a hull here. So it's not quite the same, but it's not the worst thing that can happen to you either. I practice with this all the time by drawing and actually shooting with this in my appendix carry position. So that works really, really well. It's just not perfect. That's the only thing that I would say about that. But, as far as, training with it is perfect. I don't need another holster for this particular BB gun. Right? All right, we're going to get Dylan to load one of the magazines with a full set of BBs, which is about 15. So he's taken the follower and he's pushed it back here. It's really, really sensitive, and you want to try and keep your fingers off of there. What I did was, the gun comes with a single magazine, and I went to Pyramid Aire and purchased 2 more. These were $10 a piece. So this is a really, this is a really cheap way to train with, right? It's simply amazing just how inexpensive this stuff is. And this stuff is branded. You can see here, we've got the Glock logo here on the BB gun itself. It is, marked, stamped, officially licensed product of Glock is what it says here on the side. And then we've got the Glock logo on the front here, and a number of those, nice little touches, and it's a very, very real feeling. Okay. I think it'll hold one more. Okay, and then push that little thing down, right? All right, that is a loaded. When it's full, if you take a look at that closely, you can see that BB in there, right? Then you've got a full magazine. You can also see on the side here. All right, so we're out here on a rainy day today. And this camera is not waterproof, and we're just trying to get this done, get these shots in. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move him up pretty close. On Super Bowl Sunday, we're shooting at about 20 feet, right? Which decreases your target acquisition and actually hitting the target, but you can still hit the target. For the purpose of this video, we'll just come in a little bit closer so we can pop some cans, make a move, and then we'll go. The noise level on a brand new CO2 is fairly loud. If you've got neighbors, or if that's a problem for you, right? Just be aware of that. As the CO2 is used up, you'll start to notice that there's an arc to the BB. So you have a variable that you have to constantly start to deal with later on, like maybe after 50 shots or so. I've never really counted it, but you will start to see the BB slow down. The positive side of things is that you can actually see the BB. He can see the BB, so he can make the adjustment if he's not hitting the target and have a result, right? So it's really cool that way. All right, so I'm going to load this thing, right? I'm going to go safety off, right? And I'm going to hand it to this young man. Let's see if we can hit some cans. All right. USA's number 1. All right. Shot, son. Nice and easy on that trigger. Nice and easy. Nice, easy pull. Yeah. Do you see where it's going? Is it going above or below it? A little to the side, okay. Yep, I saw it to the left. Yeah, good shot. All right. There you go. Do some running and gunning here. Good one. All right. Keep that barrel pointed down range, please. All right. You good? All right. I'll take that. Go safety on. Right. See. Cool. I mean, he's good at this. He can do this.
Wow, right to the top.
Did it?
Yeah. It's on this one. I actually hit. What? I hit it all the way through.
Did it go through? Yeah. One of the other things you can do with this thing is a mag dump. It's really fun. There's no recoil on this thing, right? So you can just sit there. Bah, 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 bah. It's fun to do. You're going to end up loading a lot of magazines in order to do that, but it is fun. I mean, who can deny it, right? All right. So, going to do it again?
Yeah.
All right. Let's do check safety. Safety is on. We're going to go safety off. All right. Ready to go. USA's number 1, right? Oh, just missed it. Nice and easy. Concentrate. We out of ammo? I think we're out of ammo.
Yeah.
Let's check it. Safety on. Yeah, we're out. Okay, I'm gonna call this one a wrap for the video. You know, because the gun is larger than his hand, you can see the front, you know, start to wiggle on him, right? And that doesn't help his cause, but it's just like every other variable in the whole world, right? You just got to manage it and just get good at it and know how to keep the thing flat, level, and straight. I think I'm going to call this a wrap. We'll sit out here, get this camera out of the rain. It is sprinkling a little bit. This is not a waterproof camera. And he's going home in a little while. He spent the night last night, he and his sister. So thanks for watching. And give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. I'd appreciate it. And, you know, throw a comment in and let me know what you think. Come here, you. Oh, good looking man.
Hi, son.